The desert night held its breath until the crack of a rifle split the silence. Samuel Kane gritted his teeth, the sound dragging him back to memories he tried to bury. The wind carried dust across the burned homestead where he now stood. A flicker of flame danced in the distance, throwing shadows over the broken fences and twisted beams. Samuel whispered, "Damn ghosts won't let me rest." Evelyn Cross appeared from the haze, her laughter sharp but hollow, like glass shattering. She said, "You never could escape the past." Her eyes glimmered with secrets. Young Thomas Reed stumbled into view, his boots too clean for the dirt, voice trembling, "Sir, I can help." Samuel's hand hovered near his revolver, the weight of choice pressing heavy. A shadow moved behind them, and Sheriff Cole Ryder's cold gaze gleamed under the brim of his hat, watching like a wolf circling its prey. The fire cracked in the distance as Samuel studied Evelyn's eyes, searching for truth hidden behind her mocking grin. He said, "Why show yourself now?" Evelyn tilted her head, lips curling. "Maybe I enjoy watching men chase ghosts." Thomas shifted nervously, glancing between them, muttering, "I think he's here for something else." Samuel's hand clenched tighter on his belt. Ryder's shadow moved along the edge of the ruins, his voice deep and calm. "Order don't keep itself, Kane. You bring chaos every time you crawl back." Samuel breathed heavy, fury sparking, yet he stayed rooted. The desert night felt smaller, closing in as the wind howled, carrying the sound of Evelyn's laughter, sharp enough to cut. Thomas whispered, "We should leave before more come." Samuel's jaw tightened, his voice low. "Running never ends the chase." Evelyn's laughter faded into silence, her eyes softening briefly before she looked away. Ryder stepped closer, spurs striking ground with metallic finality. "You'll answer for what you've done, Kane." Samuel glared back, his chest rising slow. "I've already paid." Evelyn turned, arms crossed, smirk hiding unease. Thomas shuffled nervously, revolver shaking in his grip. The air grew heavy with smoke and the weight of past sins pressing on every soul. The wind carried ash across Samuel's boots as he said, "You never wanted justice, Ryder, just power." Ryder smiled coldly. "Power is justice out here." Evelyn's breath caught, her smirk faltering as Samuel's words hit too close. Thomas blurted, "Then who do we trust?" Silence answered him. Only the crackle of dying flames. Samuel's gaze lingered on Evelyn, her eyes darting before she forced a grin. Ryder stepped closer, revolver glinting. "The boy learns quick. Trust is weakness." Samuel steadied himself, the old storm rising inside. The tension coiled tight as Samuel said, "You'll regret walking this path, Ryder." Ryder's voice dripped with contempt. "I regret nothing." Evelyn's laughter echoed again, sharp and fragile, her voice trembling beneath the mask. Thomas whispered, "It's starting, isn't it?" Samuel's shoulders squared, his hand hovering near his revolver, each breath measured. Ryder tilted his hat, eyes flashing like steel. For a moment, silence pressed against them, broken only by the low hiss of fire dying in the wind. Samuel's fate was already pulling him into a storm he could not stop. The desert dawn crept slowly, painting the sky with pale gold. Samuel Kane sat against a charred fence post, his revolver resting heavy in his lap. He whispered, "Every step forward drags me deeper into hell." Thomas Reed crouched near him, eyes wide with worry, asking, "Why fight if the fight never ends?" Samuel's jaw clenched, the silence answering more than words. Evelyn Cross leaned against a broken wall, her voice soft but edged. "Because men like Ryder don't stop, they consume." Her eyes betrayed a flicker of regret before the mask returned. The fire's smoke curled into the morning light, blending with Samuel's breath. Thomas said, "I'll stand with you, sir." Samuel shook his head, muttering, "You don't know the price." The desert stretched endless, a reminder of battles long past and storms yet to come. Later that morning, Samuel walked the dirt trail leading away from the ruins, each bootstep echoing with memories he despised. Jeremiah Harlow emerged from the sagebrush, older and slower, eyes sharp with hard-won wisdom. "You've returned to your old sins," Jeremiah said calmly. Samuel replied, "Sins return to me." Thomas followed close, clutching his revolver, listening like a student at a sermon. Jeremiah's hand rested on Samuel's shoulder, his voice heavy. "Redemption costs blood, yours or theirs." Evelyn lingered behind them, arms folded, her gaze locked on the horizon as if hiding something the others could not see. The silence between them carried old pain and warnings too deep to ignore. They reached a dry creek bed where Jeremiah stopped, gazing at the cracked earth. "This land remembers blood," he muttered. Samuel scowled. "Then it remembers mine." Thomas's voice wavered. "Sir, it doesn't have to end in more graves." Samuel looked at the boy, his silence a wall of sorrow. Evelyn stepped forward, eyes narrowing. "The boy's right. But Ryder won't give us peace. He'll hunt you until nothing's left." Jeremiah sighed, lowering himself onto a rock. "A man who carries ghosts cannot escape them. He must choose which to face." The wind carried grit between them, each word leaving marks deeper than bullets. Samuel's shoulders sagged, yet the fire in his eyes refused to die. The silence broke with Evelyn's sudden laugh, brittle and sharp. "Do you think Ryder fears your wisdom, Jeremiah? He owns this land, owns the law, owns fear." Samuel's head lifted, eyes burning. "Fear can bleed." Thomas whispered, "And if we fall first?" Samuel answered, "Then we fall fighting." Jeremiah's gaze softened, though his voice remained firm. "Fighting without reason makes men hollow." Evelyn turned away, her shoulders trembling before she regained her poise. Samuel's fists clenched, his voice cracking. "Reason died when Ryder burned everything I had." The desert heat pressed down, suffocating every word that followed. As dusk fell, they gathered near an abandoned well on the edge of town. Shadows stretched long, and the air smelled of dust and iron. Samuel leaned against the stone rim, muttering, "Every road leads back to Ryder." Jeremiah said, "Then face him, but know you may lose more than your life." Evelyn's laugh cracked again, but softer, almost like a sob. "You think Ryder is the only monster here," she whispered. Samuel's eyes narrowed, suspicion piercing through her mask. Thomas stepped forward, voice steady for the first time. "Then let us fight together, all of us." Samuel studied the boy, pride and dread warring within him. The night swallowed their words, leaving only the sound of a distant coyote's cry. The town's main street lay under the burning noon sun, dust swirling in lazy circles. Samuel Kane stood in the shade of the saloon's porch, scanning faces hardened by fear. Ryder's men patrolled with rifles slung casually, their presence a silent threat. Thomas Reed whispered, "These people look broken." Samuel muttered, "Fear bends spines faster than bullets." Evelyn Cross stepped out from the saloon, her dark dress catching the light, her smile a dagger. "You wanted a war, Samuel. Now you've got an army against you." Samuel's jaw tightened, his hand brushing the revolver at his hip. Jeremiah Harlow leaned near, Kane pressing into the boards, voice low. "A man fights shadows when he doesn't know which enemy stands closest." The street quieted as Ryder's badge flashed in the sun at the far end, his slow approach heavy with menace. Ryder's boots struck the dirt with measured rhythm, each step echoing across the silent street. He stopped in front of Samuel, eyes cold and steady. "You've returned to poison what peace I've built." Samuel spat into the dust. "You call this peace?" Thomas shifted nervously, knuckles white around his revolver. Evelyn leaned against a post, watching with amusement that didn't quite hide unease. Jeremiah shook his head slowly. "Power feeds on silence. These people bow because they've forgotten how to stand." Ryder sneered. "They bow because I protect them from men like Kane." Samuel's eyes burned as he growled, "No, they bow because you've shackled them." The air trembled with unspoken violence, each heartbeat louder than the last. The saloon doors banged open, a townsman shoved into the street, bloodied and trembling. Ryder's men laughed, one saying he thought he could withhold his taxes. The crowd turned their eyes away, fear pinning them silent. Samuel's teeth clenched, fists balled. Thomas muttered, "This isn't law, it's theft." Evelyn's laughter rang false, brittle in the hot air. "Welcome to Ryder's justice." Jeremiah moved forward, steady despite his limp, placing himself between the beaten man and Ryder's soldiers. "A sheriff who bleeds his people isn't protecting them," Jeremiah said, voice sharp. Ryder's hand brushed his holster, his glare slicing across Samuel. The air felt like a storm ready to break. Samuel stepped closer, hand resting near his revolver. "Let the man go." Ryder tilted his head, smirking. "Or what? You'll shoot me in front of the people I protect?" The townsfolk shifted uneasily, avoiding Samuel's eyes. Thomas whispered urgently, "They're afraid of him more than they want freedom." Jeremiah's face darkened. "They fear him because they don't trust you yet." Evelyn's voice cut sharp. "And maybe they shouldn't." Samuel turned to her, fury flashing. "Then why stand with me at all?" Evelyn's smile faltered, eyes glistening for just a heartbeat. Ryder watched with satisfaction, enjoying the cracks in their unity. The silence grew unbearable, dust swirling between their boots. The beaten townsmen crawled away as Ryder's men stepped back, waiting for orders. Ryder smirked, eyes never leaving Samuel. "Every time you fight, Kane, you drag these people deeper into the grave." "Oh," Samuel growled, "you already buried them." Thomas's voice cracked but strong. "No, he buried them in fear. Maybe it's time they remembered how to rise." Ryder's laughter echoed like gunfire. Evelyn's gaze dropped to the dirt, her lips pressed tight as if holding back words that could shatter everything. Jeremiah sighed, lifting his cane like a staff. "The boy speaks truth. Fear breaks when courage stands." Samuel's hand hovered close to his revolver. The storm between them, one heartbeat from breaking loose. Night fell heavy over the desert as Samuel Kane led his small group through the outskirts of town. Lanterns flickered in the distance, shadows moving along rooftops. Jeremiah Harlow whispered, "It smells of ambush." Samuel's jaw tightened. "Let them come." Thomas Reed clutched his revolver nervously, breath quick. Evelyn Cross lingered close to Samuel, her perfume a strange comfort in the dust. She said softly, "Trust me, and I'll guide you past Ryder's trap." Samuel's eyes narrowed, suspicion gnawing at his resolve. A coyote's cry split the silence, and rifles cocked from the darkness. Ryder's men emerged, guns raised. Samuel cursed, so much for trust. Evelyn's eyes glistened as if torn between choice and fate, her smile sharp but trembling. Gunfire ripped the night open, bullets sparking off stone. Samuel dove behind a trough, revolver flashing. Thomas shouted, "They're everywhere!" Jeremiah crouched low, Kane bracing him as he fired an old rifle with deadly precision. Evelyn stood exposed in the chaos, her figure framed by firelight. Ryder's voice rang out from the dark, "End it tonight, Kane." Samuel growled, "Come take me yourself." Thomas scrambled to reload, hands shaking, shouting, "We can't hold them." Jeremiah barked, "Stand your ground, boy." Evelyn's laugh cut the roar of gunfire, brittle and strange. "Trust is death out here." She stepped back slowly, her eyes glistening with both sorrow and steel. The ambush raged, and Samuel rolled from cover, firing into Ryder's men. A body fell into the dirt, blood soaking the dust. Thomas screamed, his revolver finally steady as he shot his first man. His face froze in horror at what he had done. Jeremiah shouted, "Eyes up, boy, or you'll join him in the ground." Evelyn moved toward Ryder's side, each step like a dagger twisting deeper into Samuel's chest. Samuel roared, "Evelyn!" Her voice cracked through the smoke. "I never had a choice." Ryder laughed, the sound cruel and triumphant. Samuel's heart burned hotter than the gunfire, rage and betrayal consuming him. Samuel's voice thundered over the gunfire, "You let us hear." Evelyn's face twisted with pain as she cried back, "He owns me, Samuel. I couldn't break free." Ryder raised his pistol, firing past her shoulder, a bullet grazing Samuel's arm. Samuel staggered, fury sharpening his will. Jeremiah dragged Thomas behind cover, growling, "Learn now, or die tonight." Thomas nodded, teeth clenched, determination lighting his young face. Ryder advanced slowly, revolver gleaming, his men closing in. Evelyn's hands trembled as she looked at Samuel, torn between chains and desire. Her laughter broke again, wild and sorrowful. "Maybe betrayal is all I have left." Fight ended in blood and silence. Samuel stood in the ruins of the skirmish, chest heaving, his coat torn and bloodied. Jeremiah leaned against a wall, breathing heavy, muttering, "You can't fight ghosts and men both." Thomas stumbled forward, eyes haunted, whispering, "I killed him. I killed a man." Samuel gripped his shoulder firmly. "Then live so his death means something." Evelyn lingered on the edge, eyes glistening, her laughter gone, only tears spilling freely now. Ryder's voice echoed from the shadows, "This is only the beginning, Kane." Samuel raised his revolver into the night sky, firing one shot that cracked like thunder, a vow carved into the desert silence. The town lay hushed after the ambush, the streets scattered with broken lanterns and ash. Samuel Kane stood outside the church, blood still drying on his sleeve. His voice rasped, "Ryder has always hunted me, but now I know why." Jeremiah Harlow leaned heavy on his cane, eyes dark. "You never wanted the truth, Samuel, but it has waited for you." Thomas Reed swallowed hard, his voice small. "What truth?" Evelyn Cross stepped forward, her face pale under the lantern light. She whispered, "Ryder is the man who burned your home." "He killed them all, Samuel. He made me watch." Samuel's breath left him like a gunshot, his world tilting. He growled low, "Then every road leads back to his blood." Inside the church, flickering candles cast trembling shadows across wooden pews. Samuel slammed his fist against the altar. "He took everything from me." Evelyn's voice cracked, "I begged him to spare them." He laughed. Jeremiah lowered his head, muttering, "I knew. I saw Ryder's rise and I stayed silent." Samuel turned on him, fury burning. "You knew?" Jeremiah's eyes glistened. "I thought silence would save the town, but it only damned it." Thomas looked between them, voice trembling. "Then you all let Ryder carve his law into the desert." Samuel's face hardened. "Then tomorrow we carve him out." Evelyn's tears slid down her face, her laughter gone, her sorrow laid bare. Samuel stood in the doorway of the church, staring into the dark horizon. "Ryder stole my past. He won't steal my end." Thomas moved beside him, voice steadier. "Then I'll stand with you, no matter what." Samuel's gaze softened briefly. "Don't let my sins become yours." Jeremiah rose, limping toward them, cane tapping. "The boy is right. Ryder's shadow won't vanish unless we face it." Evelyn stepped into the candlelight, her face etched with torment. "You don't understand. Ryder doesn't fear bullets. He fears secrets, and I am one of them." Samuel's jaw tightened. "Then speak them now before the desert buries us all." The silence afterward was heavier than stone. Evelyn's voice quivered but did not break. "Ryder owns me because I am tied to his crimes. He forced me to lure men into their graves. Samuel, your family was not his first. I was there when others burned." Samuel's face froze, disbelief and fury clashing. Thomas whispered, You helped him." Evelyn's tears streaked her cheeks as she cried, "I never chose it, but I played the role because survival was all I had." Jeremiah's voice rumbled low. "The past is a chain, girl, but you still decide if you'll wear it tomorrow." "Tot?" Samuel's breath shook, his voice steel. "Chains or not, tomorrow Ryder pays." Evelyn lowered her head, her laughter hollow, echoing through the church like a funeral bell. The church bells tolled midnight, hollow and cold. Samuel stood before the altar, his revolver laid upon it like a sacrifice. "Tomorrow, I end Ryder, or I end myself." Thomas approached, voice steady. "Then I'll fight at your side." Samuel gripped his shoulder. Don't die for my vengeance. Live for your own future. Jeremiah's eyes glistened as he whispered, maybe redemption waits for all of us in the morning. Evelyn stood apart, laughter gone, only tears flowing as she said, you may kill Ryder, but you'll never kill what he left inside me. Samuel lifted the revolver, holstered it with finality, and walked into the night. The desert wind carried his vow like thunder rolling across endless plains. The sun rose red over the desert, casting long shadows across the empty street. Samuel Kane stood at one end, boots planted, revolver heavy at his side. His voice was low but steady. This ends today. Thomas Reed, pale but resolved, stood behind him. We stand together. Jeremiah Harlow's hand gripped his cane tight, voice soft. Stand for more than revenge, Samuel. Evelyn Cross lingered on the saloon balcony, her dark dress swaying in the wind. She whispered, I cannot stop what's coming. Sheriff Ryder appeared at the far end, his badge glinting like fire in the morning sun. He called out, you've run long enough, Kane. Now you'll kneel. The air grew still, every heartbeat louder than a gunshot. The townsfolk lined the windows, silent witnesses to the storm. Samuel's boots scraped the dirt as he took one slow step forward. Ryder mirrored him, calm as stone. Thomas whispered, he's faster than he looks. Jeremiah muttered, fast won't matter if your soul is steady. Evelyn gripped the railing above, her laughter absent, her tears catching the morning light. Ryder's voice rang clear, you took everything from yourself, Kane. I only showed the world what you are. Samuel spat in the dirt. No, you took everything and now I'll take it back. The street held its breath, waiting for thunder. A shot split the silence, dust spraying near Samuel's boots. Ryder lowered his smoking revolver, smirking. I always fire first. Samuel's eyes narrowed, voice hard. And I always finish it. Gunfire erupted, bullets tearing through wood and glass. Thomas dove for cover, shouting, too many. Jeremiah braced himself against a post, firing slow and steady, each shot purposeful. Evelyn cried out, stop this madness. Her voice drowned in the roar. Samuel rolled into the street, revolver blazing, his face a storm of rage and memory. Ryder advanced, fearless, his men falling around him like cut wheat. The town became fire, smoke, and vengeance. The firefight slowed, smoke choking the street. Samuel staggered, blood streaking his coat, yet his eyes never left Ryder. Ryder sneered, you're weaker than I remember. Samuel lifted his revolver with steady hand. I'm stronger because I remember. Thomas crawled from cover, firing, his shot grazing Ryder's arm. Ryder snarled, firing back, nearly striking the boy. Jeremiah roared, stay down, lad. Evelyn leaned over the balcony rail, her tears falling. Samuel, end this before it ends all of us. Samuel steadied his breath, the world narrowing to Ryder's eyes. Nothing else existed but the man who had stolen his soul. The final moment came like the desert's breath before a storm. Samuel and Ryder faced each other in the open, both revolvers drawn, both eyes burning with years of hate. Ryder's lips curled. This is your grave, Kane. Samuel's voice was steady, almost calm. No, it's yours. The street went silent. 2 shots cracked, echoes rolling like thunder. Ryder stumbled, eyes wide, blood soaking his chest. He collapsed into the dust. Samuel swayed, blood dripping from his side, but he remained standing. Thomas rushed to him shouting, you did it! Jeremiah whispered, at last. Evelyn covered her mouth, tears falling as laughter slipped out broken and hollow. Samuel whispered, it ain't over. Not for me. The town was silent after Ryder's fall, the dust settling like a shroud. Samuel Kane stood over the body, chest heaving, revolver still warm in his hand. Thomas Reed whispered, it's done. Jeremiah Harlow stepped forward slowly, his cane digging into the dirt. Done? No, boy. The fight never ends. The faces change, but the ghosts remain. Samuel's eyes burned with exhaustion as he muttered, "Then maybe I'm just another ghost now." Evelyn Cross descended from the balcony, her tears streaking her pale cheeks. She said, "You're not free, Samuel. None of us are." The sun crept higher, throwing gold light over blood and ruin. The townsfolk emerged slowly, faces pale and wary. A woman whispered, "The sheriff is dead." A man muttered, "What happens now?" Samuel holstered his revolver with a heavy hand. "Now you choose who you'll follow." Thomas raised his voice, surprising himself. "No more fear. No more chains." Jeremiah's lips curved into the faintest smile, though his eyes were sad. Evelyn laughed hollowly, shaking her head. "The desert doesn't change. It only bears different names." Samuel turned, his gaze sweeping over the broken street. "Then, let it bury mine." He stepped forward, already half a shadow in the rising sun. Samuel walked past the church where Ryder's men once dragged innocents. He stopped, staring at the altar through the broken doorway. His voice was hoarse. "I thought vengeance would heal me, but it only cut deeper." Jeremiah stood beside him, leaning on his cane. "Blood never washes away regret." Thomas stepped forward, his voice quiet but steady. "Then I'll carry hope instead of hate." Samuel placed a hand on his shoulder, pride flickering in his weary eyes. Evelyn lingered at the doorway, her face pale as candle wax. "And what do I carry?" she asked softly. Samuel didn't answer, his silence heavier than words. At the edge of town, the desert stretched wide, the horizon endless. Samuel tightened his saddle straps on a weary horse. Thomas said, "You don't have to leave. We can rebuild." Samuel shook his head. "Rebuilding belongs to the living. I've walked too long with the dead." Jeremiah placed a hand on his shoulder. "Redemption isn't found in leaving. It's found in staying." Samuel met his eyes briefly, then looked away. Evelyn stepped closer, her laughter gone, her voice trembling. "If you ride into that horizon, Samuel, you'll ride alone forever." His gaze softened but didn't waver. "I already have." Samuel mounted his horse, the saddle creaking beneath his weight. He looked once at Thomas, then Jeremiah, and finally, Evelyn. "Carry something better than I ever could." Thomas nodded, his young face hardened into manhood. Jeremiah sighed, whispering, "Go with peace, even if you don't find it." Evelyn's laughter broke once more, fragile and shattered. "Peace is a lie in this desert." Tears streaked her face, her sorrow spilling into the dust. Samuel turned his horse toward the horizon. The sun blazed behind him as he rode away, a lone figure swallowed by light and shadow. The desert kept its silence, holding every secret, every regret.